This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about pool service and the rain. I'll go over, should you go out in the rain? How much rain is too much rain? What are some of the effects of rain in your area? And things to do when you have multiple weeks of rain in a row for your pool route. Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. One nice thing about working in Los Angeles County is that we never really got a lot of rain, so it wasn't really a major issue juggling days when you have multiple weeks of rain, having to deal with pools that are overflowing and flooding. However, the last 3 years has brought about a change in the climate to where we're getting a lot of rain. In fact, I think the last 2 years were record years for rain. I take that back. I think 2023 was the record year. We had 169% of normal, and there was about 24 inches of rainfall for Los Angeles County that year. Because of all the rainfall we've had from 2018 on, they've actually reassess Los Angeles County. We're averaging about 14 inches of rain a year, which is pretty good. It's quite a lot of rain. Prior to that, I think the decade before that was an extreme drought. There was times when you can even drain a pool to do an acid wash because you would get fined for wasting water. And I think we are moving out of the drought kind of seasons here. There's a lot of different factors, but mainly rain is going to be an issue going forward for everyone in California. And of course, there are some states that don't get a lot of rain still, like Arizona and Nevada. But for those that do get quite a bit of rain, there is some dilemma that presents itself, and that is, how much rain is too much rain to go out in? Should you go out after the rain stops and continue your day, or should you pull the plug at a certain point during the day, or should you even go out in certain situations? Now, everyone's a little different, and you can run your pool route how you see fit as far as rainy days go. But there is something to be said with there being too much rain at some point to be any good out there. And frankly, it's somewhat dangerous to be out there when it's raining to a degree where you can't even see the bottom of the pool. There's really nothing you can do at that point. And a lot of times you're just wasting your time by going out when it's raining 1 or 2 inches of rain that day. And sometimes you think, well, it's going to be raining all day, and then the sun pokes through like around noon or 1 o'clock. Should you go out and do some pools? My thought is, at that point, no, doesn't make any sense to go out there for 4 or 5 hours, and you have to pick and choose what pools you're going to do. It's better if you don't do that. There's no need to go out there. And I've done that before, and I've been soaked before because it looked like it stopped, and then an hour later it picks up again. So there's really no way to predict that. Plus, you want to keep yourself available for emergencies in case something needs to be addressed right away. Now, speaking of emergencies, what actually is an emergency? And I'll get back to gauging when to go out there. But I want to cover this as well because I get this question asked a lot. A customer will call saying, hey, my pool's overflowing. Can you come out and help me drain it? Now, it just depends on a few factors if that's actually an emergency or not. There are some houses where if the pool does overflow, there's a danger of the water getting into the house itself. Now, a lot of people are proactive and they put sandbags around their backyard sliding door. Some people aren't quite as proactive. Needless to say, if the house is threatened by the pool overflowing, that, in my opinion, is an emergency. But if you knew this ahead of time and you know the layout, you should have set the customer up to protect their house. Same thing when planters overflow and go into the pool and turn it into a muddy swamp. This is something that's extremely preventable because you can see the planter, you can see how the runoff is going to go right into the pool, and there are steps that can be taken to correct that. Of course, the first step would be to just put sandbags around the deck area before a major rainstorm. The second step would be to eventually build a retaining wall around the planting area, which a lot of my customers have done over the years when the pool would get flooded with the mud running off from a lot of rain into the pool. But these are things that can be steps that should be taken ahead of time. And if you don't take these steps, of course, if the water is going to flood the customer's home, you have to go out there and drain it. Another step you can take is to leave a submersible pump or a sump pump with the customer and teach them how to use it during a rainstorm so that they can put it in the first step of the pool, plug it in and turn it on and drain some of the water out themselves. Or if there's a hose spigot by the pump, which in California, almost every equipment pad has the hose spigot or hose bib right above the pump. Teach the customer how to turn on the pool, attach a garden hose to that, and drain the pool down for you so that you're not running out there to do something that could be taken care of very easily by the customer. Again, sometimes you don't know these things. You maybe took over a pool recently and you're not really familiar with the layout, and you didn't train the customer to either put sandbags or to how to drain their pool. In that case, yes, go out there and do that. But when the rain stops, teach the customer how to do this so that you're not being called out there for these kind of situations. The same thing with mudslides into the pool. The customer is going to call you and panic and want you out there because it's an emergency. The pool turned brown. But there's not much you can do. It's going to take a lot of vacuuming and filter cleanings to get that pool back to its blue state. And then you would want them to prevent that from happening by shoring up the planter area. So back to how much rain is too much rain to go out in. I think you can use the situation, or you can use this as your litmus test. Kind of put yourself in the customer's shoe, and if you have a pool in your own backyard, think about, are you expecting someone to come clean the pool in this particular weather? Now, if it's just drizzle and light rain, I would say yes, I would expect someone to come and clean the pool or service the pool to some extent because it's not raining that hard out there. So that's kind of obvious. Light rain, a little bit of drizzle. Just put on your rain suit and go out there because to me that's not enough rain to pull the plug. Now, if it's raining hard enough, again, like I mentioned earlier, you can't even see the bottom. That driving is dangerous if it's windy, and if you see a lot of accidents out there, the roads are flooded. You really can't do anything to the pool anyway. I mean, you can't even check the chemicals because it's raining so hard, you wouldn't be able to get a good reading. You can't clean the pool because you can't even see the bottom, and it may be windy as well as raining, which is typical here in California. And so you're just wasting your time out there, getting soaked and putting yourself in danger. And if there's thunder and lightning forecast, you don't want to go out there, period. And you may say, well, I mean, the chance of getting hit by lightning is very slim. That could be the case, but I've had areas where I service, and I'll give you these particular examples, and I've given these before. One, the tree in the driveway was hit by lightning, and I walk past that tree all the time when I service the pool every week. I could have been hit if I was there at that moment. And then an equipment pad was actually struck by lightning, frying everything on the pad, the time clock and everything got fried. And you could see the burn mark from when the lightning hit the electrical conduit coming down from the garage. And it's one of those things, if I was there on the pad, of course I would have been electrocuted. So yes, lightning may not strike you. It may be a rare occurrence. But from my experience, seeing where it struck and knowing that I could have been there at that time, if I was out in a storm, which I wasn't, of course, but, going back to when I got to the pool, I saw what happened on that rainy day, and I was thankful I didn't go out there, which I wouldn't go out there when thunder and lightning are going off. So you kind of get the point that you pull the plug in that case. So if there's enough rain where everything's obscured and it doesn't make any sense, like if you were the customer and you looked out there and you're like, well, I'm sure the pool guy's not coming today, or pool gal's not coming because it's raining cats and dogs, then of course you don't want to go out in that weather. So you don't go out on that day because it's raining too hard. And let's just say that's a Tuesday. And one thing that you should be doing is looking at the extended forecast for the following week. This is important because if it rains again on the following Tuesday, you really can't skip that week, but then you can't go out on that day either because it's raining too hard. So there are things you can do. So let's go back to this example that it's raining 2 inches on that Tuesday and you can't go out to your route because there's just too much rain. Well, you can't make up those pools later in the week. Typically you're working 5 days a week, but if you do have a free day, like a Friday where you don't service pools, you can do your Tuesday pools there if you wanted to. And there's a benefit for having a 4-day work week where you do most of your pools and have the 5th day for repairs or to make up things like this. That's a really great benefit if you can stack your pools to do 4 days worth of work and have an extra day. I wouldn't recommend going out there on a Saturday to do the Tuesday pools unless you're having, a huge amount of rain where it's necessary to do that. Most customers don't want you out there on a Saturday. That's just the day they're enjoying their home. They don't want any service out on that day. So let's say the following Tuesday, it's going to have 3 inches of rain and thunder and lightning. So you wouldn't be able to do your Tuesday pools prior to that because you skipped them and it's going to be raining again. So what do? Well, I suggest you skip your Monday pools that week if it's a clear day and do your Tuesday pools on Monday. That way you're skipping the Monday pools, yes, but you're doing your Tuesday pools because you know it's going to rain pretty hard that day. So you kind of get the idea. You can skip your Wednesday pools and do your Tuesday pools instead if that's what you want to do. But you're going to have to kind of move things around a little bit so that you're not missing the pools for 3 weeks. That's kind of hard to do, and a lot of bad things can happen if you're not servicing a pool for a 3-week period. Besides that, there's a lot of cleanup after a rainstorm. I mentioned planters with runoff and mud getting in the pool. There's a lot of earthworms in my area that get into the pool. There's a lot of debris that gets in the pool. Sometimes the chlorine level is really low. At that point, you have to shock the pool. So if you were to skip that pool for 2 Tuesdays in a row and go back there on the subsequent Tuesday, that would be a 3-week period. And with the debris, with the loss of chemicals and all of that, it's just not going to look pretty for you. So you really don't want to go more than skipping a pool 1 week during a rainstorm. And looking at the long-term forecast is really important so that you know how to plan your route the following week. So if you miss like a Tuesday and Wednesday because of subsequent days of rain, and then the following week is going to be raining the same pattern Tuesday and Wednesday, which happens a lot here, by the way. I think there was a Friday one time where it rained every Friday. That was the year 2023 when we had that 30 inches of rain. It rained like every Friday for a month, and it's one of those things where, okay, I didn't go out on this Friday, so I literally had to move my Friday pools to like a Thursday, and then I moved some of the Thursday pools to Wednesday, and I just kind of juggled the pools around so that I could actually service the pools. Now, there was one period of time, I think it was, I'm going to say it was like 2007 or 2008, can't remember exactly what year it was, but there was a whole month in February where there was 20 days of rain in a row. I'm not kidding you, it was like one of the wettest Februaries ever. I think it was 2008. So how did I manage when it was 20 days of rain and there's really no way you can move pools around? You can't stack them, you can't move days. Well, I just actually got a pair of frog togs, and this is when I first got my rain gear, and I went out in the rain, even when it was raining 1 or 2 inches, which I mentioned that you shouldn't because it's useless, but I had to do it because you have 3 weeks of rain in a row, and so I just went out there, I checked the skimmer baskets, I made sure the pools had some chemicals in it. I just basically poured chlorine, and I didn't even test the water, to be honest with you. I put chlorine in the pools, and I just made sure everything looked halfway decent. And then I left and I did the same thing the following week because there's just no way to move the pools around. So you may run into that situation. It's not very common, and it's okay to skip pools when you're getting 1 or 2 inches of rain because you can't do anything. But if you're getting weeks of rain, you have to go out there and do the pools. It's unfortunate, but it's something that you're going to have to do if that is the case. But in most cases, that's not going to happen. It has happened before. It's pretty rare here for that to happen. In some areas, maybe it's not rare to have that happen. So you are going out there in the rain when you normally wouldn't go out there because you just have to do that. And one of the things customers understand that they're not even back there anyway using their backyard. If it's raining for 20 days in a row, no one's even going back there looking at the pool. But you want to make sure there's no problems, of course. It's not flooding and everything looks good and there's no problems with the system, because that's kind of what you do to make sure that the pool is not going to have anything major go wrong with it. But back to the emergency calls. Again, if you train your customers how to drain their pool down, you won't have a problem. And technically, a lot of pools don't need to be drained down. Like for my pool, for example, it's designed so that the excess water is going to come out through the skimmer lid. By the way, there's 2 holes on the skimmer lid. That's also a good way for water to come out of it, but that's your hand holes to open the skimmer lid. But those holes on there drain the water from my pool, and it goes into a drain into the sewer system in the street. And a lot of pools are set up that way where the water is going to drain out either through the skimmer lid or at one point of the side of the coping and go into a drain, and there's no danger, so there's no need to even drain down a pool that has too much water in it, in my opinion. Unless the water is going to be going into the house or maybe flooding a neighbor's house, then yes, you would want to teach the customer how to drain the pool with equipment, or get a sump pump and teach them how to use that to drain the pool down in that case. And last, what if you have a customer that insists that you come out there when it's raining 2 or 3 inches of rain, or when there's thunder and lightning, and they just are saying things like, I pay you for service, and what, don't you take a shower? I've got that one before. It's just water, all these kind of things to kind of urge you to be out at their pool when in fact you don't really go out on those days. You can put it in your service agreement. And by the way, you should have a service agreement that goes over what the customer's duties are. You don't have to really put in there about them draining the pool, but you can add a lot of different things in there to protect yourself. I have a service agreement Word formatted template that you can use. Just email me at david@swimmingpoollearning.com. My rainy day policy is pretty simple. It says, because I really don't have customers that push back, they already know my schedule. It says rainy day policy: chemicals will be added and pool will be cleaned the following visit. So this is kind of like my out. I'll go there and just check the chemicals and add chemicals, and I won't clean the pool because it's raining too hard. And also at a certain point, you can add in there if you wanted to, if you have customers that you think are going to be pushing back at you, you can add in there, if it's raining X amount of water, your pool will be skipped and made up the following visit. I mean, you could do something like that, but have a clear policy and stick with it, and just kind of ignore those customers if you can, to some extent, that are bugging you about why you skipped their pool. And it's only logical. You can't do anything and you can't vacuum the pool and clean it. And if you just state in your policy that you'll just check the chemicals and you'll clean the pool the following visit, they really can't say anything. And if they really insist you go out there and that kind of a customer, then of course go out and check the chemicals so you don't lose the account. And your policy states that, and go back home after that, I guess, in that case, if you have customers that you really want to please to that extent. But most people understand. I've been to pools before in the rain, and the customer is like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't even be out here. And that's usually the kind of customer response that you get, versus the one that's like, hey, you should be out here. I pay you for service, rain or shine. And hopefully, again, you don't have too many of those customers that are demanding you go out there in the rain. If you're looking for other podcasts I recorded, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. On the banner, click on the podcast icon, and there'll be a drop-down menu with over 1,600 podcasts for you to listen to. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a good rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.